G'day guys, welcome back to No Man's Sky, where in the previous episode I feel like we learned a lot about the Viking and who they are as a race. We also learned quite a little bit about Nada. I mean, there's still plenty of mysteries, but we learned a little bit about Nada's past and seemingly how he got to where he is, although, I mean, it doesn't exactly explain how the anomaly and all that sort of stuff came about, but it was interesting nonetheless to sort of see what his history is. And because we've done a couple of episodes where we focused primarily on completing missions and stories and all that sort of stuff, so I think in this episode we're going to focus a little bit more on some more building. And yeah, we're going to build out our sort of research building, and I don't know what else we're going to be doing here aside from just housing some of the workers, but we'll start off with that and then we'll see how we're going to use the space aside from that. So that's the plan anyway. Let's get to it. One thing before I start, guys, so this whole thing with having a unique base of the base is kind of proving to become a little bit of a problem for us. And yeah, I'm thinking of just like reverting to just the standard snapping. So somehow I managed to spawn into the game underneath the actual livable space of the base. I don't really understand why the game did that. So I had to sort of I had to deconstruct one of the walls, resulting in a very big problem where, you know, I can't seem to exactly get the piece in the position that I want. So I sort of gave up and just decided, you know what, I'll just put the wall in and, you know, snap it the normal way. And I might spend a little bit of time between episodes just converting everything to become a little bit more normal, because I don't know if the trade-off is really that good. And this is one of our very first serious bases anyway, so it's not like, you know, it has to be perfect or anything. So yes, I know I spent a lot of effort on it, but it's proving to be more trouble than it's worth. So let's get some walls in. I think I'll just probably use the extruded timber like we did on the other structure. So let's just do that initially. So I don't know which quest line would actually give us the ability to get some more build pieces, because that's what I'm really looking forward to. Unfortunately, we just don't have that just yet, so just trying to think of how we're going to design this area and whether or not I want to have something similar like that, or if we want to do something else. Hang on, let me just take a look here. So we got the extruded timber all the way out that way as well. Maybe it's not a bad idea. So Okay, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do out this way just yet. I mean, I could just simply close it off and... we can always do something else when we actually do know what we want to do with the space, but... So something along those lines. Obviously there's stuff below it that we probably do need to sort out. And... I'm sort of thinking, do I want to do something a little bit different, rather than just sort of having straight walls that are just, you know, going down. What I could do is perhaps maybe design it to look like there are pillars holding this structure up. That could be interesting. Oh, okay. We're missing some pure ferrite. That's the only reason why that's not working. Good thing we've got the personal refiner now, so we should make use of that. So... ferrite dust. Pure ferrite coming right up. Okay, so whilst it's in the refinery, we can't exactly use it immediately. So you have to sort of put it into your inventory before you can actually use it. Good thing to note. So yeah, we could do something like that, and then... you know, we could still cover it. It's not like we're going to be using it. Ah, yes, I forget. I forget that there's no upside-down version of these sloping panels. That really bothers me, actually. I really don't understand why the game doesn't give that to you once you have the sloping timber panels already. Anyway. Maybe... with that in mind, maybe we don't need these, and maybe we'll just settle with having a big square block. I suppose we're gonna have to settle with that, to be honest. Yes, the game, again, deciding the different pieces for us, which is a little bit annoying. Alright, so let's try and be certain of what we want to do. We want to use the base pieces in this location here, because I think it has a decent aesthetic. And that shouldn't change because we've specifically selected the base pieces. We'll also do the base pieces underneath. And I'm out of carbon already. Fresh out. Alright. Let's jump in to the ship. Let's grab a little bit of carbon from random spots. This seems like a good place as any. I mean, we always see these ships jumping in and out. I wonder if you can actually approach them and interact with them. You probably can. If you're quick enough, that is. I'm glad that this world doesn't actually have any sentinel activity. I think perhaps maybe there are some sentinels somewhere, but it's not very high activity. I think if it were a high activity sentinel planet, I may not have chosen to build here though. Just because every now and then when we do need to source some stuff for construction, we would always get interrupted by having to fight some sentinels constantly. That would be very annoying. So how are we doing on the carbon front? It's looking okay. I could perhaps also break down some condensed carbon and just make that into normal carbon. That is probably an option for us. Grab that. Let's dump in some condensed carbon. Maybe half of it. We'll make a little bit of extra carbon that way. Alright, so let's head back. I think we've got enough to sustain ourselves for a little bit more. Oh man. Not really what I wanted, but here we are. I should be able to get back up, though. Just using our jump jets. No stress. Okay, let's continue. So, just double checking that we've done everything on the bottom. I think we do need to just fix that, and let's just make sure that we're choosing the right style. And then I think for this middle section we can just use the proper mid wall sections. Okay, I may have accidentally built somewhere else there. I'll have to probably fix that later on. And that will be that. Another thing that we could potentially do is like build these sections out. So that doesn't look too bad. Let me just take a look at things from a little bit further away. I guess the question is whether or not I prefer these pillars or the one in the center. Another option is to build out from this particular section here. I just also feel like there's a little bit of an imbalance if I keep this center pillar. It's not quite in the center though. Maybe I should be building it from there instead. Oh boy. Here I go. Deconstructing things again. I think this probably looks a little bit better. We have two pillars. We'd be wasting more materials, but I think it'll look better, so... Let's take a squiz. I think so. I think this is the way. Just looking at this area here, which seems, just in my view anyway, a little bit disjointed. I wonder if there's a way we can make it less disjointed. I think if I extend it further this way, it'd probably look a little bit weird, to be honest. I don't know. There's just something about this little corner here where my reticule is that makes it look so flimsy, which I have a problem with. It's probably just a me problem. But I think we could probably do something about it. Like if I did something like this, for instance. I'm just sort of thinking about, you know, adding depth to the build. And that looks a little bit better. It's not really being applied all across the entire build though. But I suppose that's not really too bad. We could perhaps maybe just add a little bit more all the way, like out this way, and I think I'd be pretty satisfied with that. Would it make sense to bring it all the way out this way? Maybe it does. Like that. I don't think that looks too bad. It just makes it look like, you know, there's a little bit more stability there, but... Anyway, I'm probably overthinking things. I think that makes sense, and everything on this side makes sense as well. I don't know about this gap just yet and how to fix that. Possibly something that we'll have to live with for a while. Okay, so let's think about the roofs. Ooh, okay. So this mishap has given me some ideas, I guess, around how we can utilize the space. Maybe we should divide the space into two. Don't know where that piece went. Probably accidentally placed it somewhere. Right here. Okay. Someone was also suggesting to avoid all of the storms and stuff to just like jump into the base and use the build view rather than constantly getting bothered by the weather. Maybe I should try to heed all of that. Though, I guess from where we are, I do actually have to move closer to the base. Maybe if I just stay in this little nook here while we have the, you know, the roof on top of our heads, maybe we'll be protected. Alright, so, I don't know, I mean, it's not a bad way to build things, but I feel like being able to experience things firsthand while you're building is also nice, so you can sort of understand how the space works. I wonder if it's better to have, like, arches instead of doors, and that way you can sort of go in and out a lot easier, a lot quicker. But anyway, let's just play around with what we have. And what to do with this section here? Still don't know, but maybe for the time being we'll just wall it off. And just looking at the space, we should be able to house, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 workers in there, another 4 in here. But we don't even have that many, right? Like, I think we have 6. I don't know if you could just do 3 in each section. Maybe. Another thing we might be able to do is, like, can we divide the rooms themselves into 2? So, in essence, we might have 4 rooms. So we could do something like that. Could be interesting. Do we want to think about whether or not there's a second story in this structure? Because if we need a second story as well, that might actually govern how much space we've got here to work with on the ground floor. Ground floor? Elevated ground floor. I do think that it might be a good idea to plan for a second story. Great. I wonder if a half ramp would be good in this situation, because we don't have a lot of space to work with. Just trying to understand why I'm not able to snap from the top here. What is going on? What if I get rid of it first? Will that help? It loves snapping things from the bottom, but not from the top for whatever reason. That snaps. That snaps. Okay. Yeah. Very, very strange that you have to sort of force things in that way. Let's go with a half ramp. Can we please snap the half ramp? Boy. Not exactly doing what we want it to do. Okay. Let's try something a little different then. What if we go do that and then the half ramp against it? Okay. Bit problematic. Yeah, half the time I feel like it could be the order of how you put these things in that really decides things. Finally. That took way longer than it needed to. I had to destroy half the place in the process. Okay, so we could do a second story. From here. Do we even need the half ramp? We could do a full ramp and not worry about having half ramps. Or, again, just sort of thinking aloud here, but I wonder if we could do a couple of staircases in the middle of the corridor instead. Sorry guys, I'm just sort of processing what I even want to do. Let me play around with something, with an idea. Christ. It's so difficult to try and get these ramps in the spot that you want. My lord. Oh my god. Yeah. So the thing that frustrates me is that, you know, we might want to do like this sort of experimentation, but it's so difficult just to even experiment on stuff. I feel like we don't have enough space to use half ramps, to be honest. We might have to just use... because initially I was sort of thinking we could do like 2 half ramps, just, you know, in different locations, but with the amount of space that we have, I think just 1 normal sized ramp will have to do. The question is, where do we sort of move up from? I suppose what I had before wasn't such a bad about solution. Like so. Okay. I do still want those rooms to be constructed. It's just that they're proving to be a bit of a pain when they're in there. And it's probably a little bit easier for us to be able to just snap stuff to the things that we actually want to snap to when they're not currently in place. What am I doing? Sorry guys, a lot of misclicks here. That's what I want. I want to accidentally drop into those pillars. Okay, so I think the next thing we need to resolve is probably just what goes on in this next sort of second story, if that makes sense. Okay, so starting with that, let's just get rid of that. And Okay. So we need a bit of a gap, obviously, because we're going to have the staircase lead up. So we'll leave that. I can already tell this is going to be a nightmare for us to put a roof on top of. Not looking forward to the day that we need to do that. Which is not very far off, to be honest. God, come on. Please, snap to the right spot. Actually, maybe I can even leave that gap completely, because staircase is going to go up that way anyway, right? So maybe not entirely needed. Oh god. Okay, let's just play around with the shape of the roof. Alright. Things are coming along. I think. I know I don't sound very confident, but... There are still a few gaps here and there, which I'm still not entirely sure what to do with. I'll probably plug these sections. Like so. Oh my goodness, I'm out of carbon again. I do have a little bit of carbon here. Let's just steal that. And I'll keep the condensed carbon that I have. I won't, you know, break down anymore, but... I think with the amount of carbon that we have, we should have enough for at least this episode. I don't mind what we've got going on here, so... The way I'm thinking about it is we could set up our... like hydroponics and stuff here. So we've got stuff growing kind of on the outside of the building. It'd be nicer if we had the ability to move around like all sides of the building. Not just this side, so I'm not entirely sure if I can maybe do something about that. How? I'm not 100% sure just yet. Anyway, let's plug this gap here. And I think as long as we don't really have any gaps, I'd be pretty happy. But we did sort of use these roof pieces to plug some gaps, didn't we? So if I got rid of those, we definitely have a bit more room for movement. I wonder... If I got rid of that, I could now place that in a less, in the way position. We should be able to maybe give ourselves a little bit of room to sort of move around the upper section. We will see a gap here though, so that might be something that we need to address. But yeah, we'd be able to move around like so. Is that what we want? I mean, it's a little jank, isn't it? Like, because there's not a lot of space to move. But if push comes to shove, we could accept that. Sort of thinking I could perhaps maybe move that there. Yeah, that gives us even more space. Maybe that's the way we go. The only trouble is replicating exactly what we have on the other side. So how are we gonna do that? What is going on up there? Some kind of a ship. Okay. Why isn't it rotating where I want? Strange. Perfect. Please. Game. Thank you. Alright, alright, alright. We're getting there. We're getting there. Now I should be able to just place that back down. Probably also going to need some solar panels up this way. We'll address that when the time comes. So I think the only thing we really need to do is to figure out a way to get out there, obviously. So, and we did establish that there is a way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that wasn't too difficult. So now that that's been fixed up, we should then be able to just add a few embellishments, but I think, well, the other thing we need to do is to also get rid of all of these guiding pieces, which we don't want to be in place, so that's good. Oh yeah, we should be able to add this sort of stuff here. And going in with this camera seems to be quite difficult. Might be easier if we just attend to it ourselves, like so. Quickly running out of carbon here. Alright, looking good. And I can already foresee all of this just being, you know, where we grow stuff. Maybe a solar panel or two. I'm thinking maybe we could hook up the solar panels, like, up this way, and then... I don't know, we kind of need a battery somewhere. We could probably hide the battery, in fact. Just between, you know, some of these roof pieces, because we're not really using the space within the roof space. It's not exactly an attic, is it? And yeah, we can make use of it that way. Let's add maybe some slope pieces here, as we can. And probably want to fix this up as well. Perfect. And I mean, this is sort of open to the elements, isn't it? It seems. Hang on, maybe roof pieces, sorry, not roof pieces, but sloping pieces aren't exactly needed. Because what we could end up doing is just placing a wall, like so. Yeah, there is a bit of a gap, isn't there? Yeah, this is gonna bother me a little bit. I wonder what we should do about that. Alright. Maybe that's the way we go. Yeah, it definitely looks way tidier, doesn't it? And we can just put these in like so. And now we should be able to get ourselves an arch, or I'd say maybe a door is even better. Maybe... and we're separating the two sides of the building. There's going to be a corridor anyway. I think maybe the best thing to do is to have the door set up here in the center. Where the hell did that door go? It's probably built itself on the outside somewhere. I'm going to have to fix that and resolve it another time. Yeah, maybe we could do something like that. And then just get these walls in. think I'm pretty happy, guys. Let's just do a bit of a walkthrough here. Obviously there's like some erroneous like door piece down there somewhere, which we might need to find and discover and deconstruct at some point, but oh, get rid of that. Just looking at the place from the outside looks interesting. Oh, there's the problem. I don't think we're ever going to be able to get away from like angular like shapes and stuff, but I wonder if we want to widen the top a little bit. We could, but I don't think that's entirely necessary. I think this looks decent. And again, I keep saying to myself, maybe I don't need to overthink the design too much, since this is our first quote-unquote serious base. But yeah, 3 people here, 3 people on the other side, all the grow beds on the top. I think we're gonna have some good times here. Power generation, obviously. Alright, I'm just looking at the time here, guys. Obviously have overshot a little bit, but it was worth it. I am very happy with how the base is coming along. I hope you guys are too. Definitely leave some tips if you've got anything you want to see in the base. Happy to hear out some suggestions, and maybe we can apply those suggestions in our build somehow. Thanks for watching. Drop me a like down below. Stay true. And I'll see you guys in the next one.